The scream echoed through the penthouse like a siren. Ah! Kofi clutched his body and staggered backward, knocking over a glass of imported French wine that shattered across the marble floor. The city skyline glittered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his luxury apartment, but Kofi barely noticed the beauty of Lagos at night. His eyes were fixed in horror at the mirror in front of him. Something impossible was happening. His manhood would not stop growing. He had just stepped out of his private jacuzzi, steam still rising from his muscular frame. His body, built from years of gym memberships in the city's most expensive clubs, looked perfect, except for the terrifying change below his waist. At first, he thought it was some strange reaction, maybe from the champagne or the stress of working long hours at the bank. But no. With every second that passed, it grew heavier, longer, more unbearable. Kofi's breath came fast. He grabbed a silk robe from the gold-plated hanger, but it was useless. He could not hide it. He stumbled into his lavish bathroom, his feet sliding on the polished tiles, and leaned against the marble sink, trying to calm his racing heart. "What is happening to me?" he whispered, sweat dripping down his forehead. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the city nightlife outside. His penthouse was in the heart of Victoria Island, where rich men parked Lamborghinis and women in glittering gowns laughed their way into rooftop lounges. But here, inside the luxury he had fought so hard to achieve, Kofi was trembling like a cornered animal. His phone buzzed on the counter, messages from colleagues, friends, women. He ignored them. His hands shook as he tried to search online for answers, but nothing explained what was happening. His body pulsed with a strange energy he could not control. Then a sharp pain cut through him like fire. He collapsed to his knees, gripping the edge of the sink until his knuckles turned white. His reflection in the mirror stared back, eyes wild, chest heaving, a man who was powerful on the outside but broken within. Kofi thought of his life. The son of a poor farmer who had fought his way into the city, the banker who now wore tailored Italian suits and drove a Bentley through streets where children begged at traffic lights. He was the man everyone envied, the man women whispered about at cocktail bars. But now this shame. He crawled toward his bed, his body trembling. Every step was torture. He felt heavy, dragged down by the impossible growth. His designer sheets rustled as he collapsed into them, his head spinning. The city lights sparkled through his glass walls, mocking him. How could a man who had everything suddenly be cursed with something so strange? Kofi gasped, his body twisting in pain. He tried to reach for his phone again, maybe call his doctor, maybe call anyone. But the pain consumed him. His eyes rolled back. And in the silence of his luxurious penthouse, with the world still dancing below, Kofi fainted. When he fell unconscious, the last sound he heard was not the hum of the city, but a faint, chilling laugh echoing in his mind. Kofi woke up with sunlight flooding through the glass walls of his penthouse. For a moment, he thought it was all a bad dream. The white sheets felt cool against his skin, the expensive scent of his Hugo Boss cologne still lingered in the air, and the distant sounds of the city, honking cars, rushing people, luxury engines roaring, felt normal. But then he looked down. No, he whispered. It wasn't a dream. His manhood was still swollen, larger than anything natural, a constant reminder of the nightmare from the night before. He covered himself quickly, pulling the sheets over his body as though the walls of the penthouse could see his shame. His heart raced. He could not let anyone know. Yet he had no choice, he had work. By 9 o'clock, Kofi was standing in front of his full-length mirror, struggling to button his navy blue Italian suit. The trousers, tailored perfectly a month ago, felt too tight. He shifted uncomfortably, adjusting his tie, trying to convince himself he could hide it. The banker everyone admired had to show up today, curse or no curse. Downstairs, the valet greeted him respectfully as he slid into his black Bentley. The leather seats pressed uncomfortably against him, making him wince. He drove through the wide roads of Victoria Island, past cafes where young women sipped lattes and businessmen sealed deals. On the outside, Kofi looked like the perfect gentleman, wealthy, confident, untouchable. But inside, he carried a secret burning like fire. At the bank's headquarters, a towering glass building, Kofi walked in with his usual air of authority. His co-workers nodded, women glanced at him with curious smiles. He was known as the Golden Banker, the man who closed million-dollar deals and always looked like he stepped out of a magazine. But today was different. He couldn't sit comfortably in his leather office chair. Every movement reminded him of the strange growth. When he walked across the trading floor, whispers followed him. Some of the junior staff giggled behind their hands, others exchanged knowing looks. "Why are they looking at me like that?" he muttered under his breath. At lunch, one of his colleagues, a slim young woman named Amara, leaned over his desk. Her eyes sparkled with mischief. "Kofi, is it true what they're saying?" she asked softly. Kofi froze. His throat tightened. "What are you talking about?" He forced a smile. She tilted her head, her voice barely a whisper. "They say, you have something unusual." His chest pounded. Sweat formed on his brow. He wanted to deny it, to laugh it off, but the way she looked at him, curious, hungry, made him realize the rumors had already started spreading. Someone had noticed. Maybe the way he walked, maybe how his clothes fit differently, maybe the way he shifted uncomfortably during meetings. Kofi forced a laugh, brushing it off. "Don't believe everything you hear in this city." Amara smiled knowingly, but her eyes lingered on him longer than normal before she walked away. By evening, when he finally escaped the office and returned to his penthouse, Kofi felt drained. He poured himself a glass of whiskey, sinking into the velvet sofa. He had survived another day, but for how long? Secrets in the city never stayed hidden for long. As the city lights flickered on outside, Kofi leaned back, his body heavy, his mind racing. The laughter he heard in his head last night returned faintly, chilling him to the bone. Something unnatural was happening, and soon the whole city would know. By the third morning, Kofi could no longer pretend that everything was fine. The tightness in his tailored trousers, the strange weight between his legs, the restless nights, it was unbearable. He paced across the marble floor of his penthouse, his reflection following him in the glass walls. A successful man on the outside, but a broken one within. "This can't continue," he muttered to himself. "I need answers." Pulling out his gold-plated phone, he scrolled through his contacts until he found the name of someone who could be trusted. Dr. Okeke, a discreet physician who ran an exclusive clinic on Banana Island. Unlike public hospitals where gossip spread like wildfire, Okeke's clinic catered only to the city's elite. Men with secrets, women with hidden addictions, politicians with illnesses they could not afford to show. By midday, Kofi's Bentley pulled into the private driveway of the clinic. The building itself was designed like a luxury hotel. White walls, tinted glass, palm trees swaying in the front. A uniformed nurse welcomed him inside, guiding him past a lobby filled with leather chairs, scented candles, and artwork worth millions. Dr. Okeke, a tall man in his 50s with silver-rimmed glasses and calm eyes, greeted Kofi warmly. "Kofi Mensah," he said, shaking his hand. "The city's golden banker. What brings you here looking so troubled?" Kofi hesitated, his pride fighting against his fear. "Doctor, I have a problem. A problem I cannot explain." They moved into a private consultation room, soundproof and dimly lit. The doctor listened as Kofi, shame burning his cheeks, explained what had been happening since that night. His voice shook as he described the growth, the pain, the whispers already spreading at his office. For the first time in his life, Kofi felt naked, not because of his body, but because of his vulnerability. Dr. Okeke's expression shifted from curiosity to concern. He scribbled notes, then asked Kofi to undergo an examination. Minutes later, after the humiliating check, the doctor sat back in his chair, his brows furrowed. "This is unusual," he said slowly. "I have never seen a condition like this before. Physically, your body is healthy. No disease. No infection. But this," he paused, choosing his words carefully. "This seems beyond medicine." Kofi's heart dropped. "What do you mean beyond medicine? You're telling me science can't explain this?" The doctor leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Kofi, I have treated powerful men in this city, men with secrets, men cursed by their past. Sometimes, when the body refuses logic, it is not medicine you must seek. It is something older, something deeper." Kofi stiffened. The words echoed like a riddle. "What are you saying, doctor?" "I'm saying," Okeke replied, "this may not be a sickness. This may be a punishment. A curse." The word hit Kofi like thunder. Curse. It stirred memories he had buried for years. Memories of a small dusty village far away from the glass towers of Lagos. Memories of a wrinkled old woman he had once mocked as a boy. His chest tightened. "Could it be? Doctor, are you telling me there is nothing you can do?" Kofi's voice cracked with desperation. "I can give you medicine for the pain," the doctor said gently, "but until you confront the root of this, it will not stop." That night, when Kofi returned to his penthouse, he poured himself whiskey after whiskey, staring at the skyline. His wealth, his cars, his suits, none of it could protect him now. The doctor's words haunted him. This may be a curse. As he drifted into uneasy sleep, he saw the old woman's face in his dream, her toothless grin, her voice cackling. You laughed at me once. Now let us see who laughs at you. Kofi woke with a jolt, drenched in sweat. His nightmare had followed him into the city. Kofi sat alone on the velvet sofa in his penthouse, the city lights shimmering beyond the glass walls. His whiskey glass trembled in his hand. He couldn't stop hearing the doctor's words. This may be a curse. That word, curse, unlocked a door he had tried to seal long ago. His mind drifted back to his childhood, far away from Lagos's skyscrapers and rooftop bars. He saw his village again, red earth roads, tin roof houses, and the laughter of children chasing after goats. He had been a poor boy then, barefoot, with hunger often gnawing at his belly. Yet even in that poverty, Kofi had carried pride. Pride that sometimes turned into arrogance. He remembered the day clearly. He had been only 14, standing with his friends near the village stream. An old woman, bent with age and wearing a torn wrapper, had passed by. She was wrinkled, with eyes that seemed too sharp for her frail body. The villagers called her Mama Adissa. Some said she was a widow, others whispered she had powers. As she struggled with her water pot, Kofi and his friends had laughed. Look at her legs, one boy jeered. She walks like a chicken, another shouted. But it was Kofi who delivered the cruelest words. He pointed and laughed, his young voice full of mockery. See how her waist shakes. Mama Adissa, is your husband still alive? Or did he run away from that shaking waist? The boys roared with laughter, rolling on the ground. The old woman had stopped, her lips trembling. Her eyes fixed on Kofi with a stare so sharp he felt it in his bones. You will regret this, she had whispered. Her voice was thin, but it cut through the laughter like a blade. One day, when you are a man, your pride will bring you shame. And your manhood will grow until it breaks you. The boys had gone silent. Even the stream seemed to hush. But Kofi, foolish and proud, had spat on the ground and shouted, What can you do to me, old woman? Go and die. He had walked away that day, believing nothing would ever come of her words. Years passed. He left the village, studied hard, worked in banks, and built himself into the successful man who now lived among Lagos's elite. The curse was something he dismissed as a childhood tale. Until now. Kofi buried his face in his hands, groaning. Could it be her? The city outside glittered with wealth, yachts anchored by the marina, rooftop pools glowing blue, lovers in designer clothes holding hands on balconies. But inside his penthouse, Kofi felt like a prisoner of his own body. He remembered his mother's warnings from years ago. Kofi, never mock the old. Their words carry power. He had ignored her. Now, every whisper in the city, every strange look from his colleagues, reminded him of that woman's curse. The laughter he had once used to shame her was now haunting him. That night, as he lay restless in his silk sheets, Kofi swore he heard a faint sound carried on the city breeze through his glass windows. It was not the honking of cars or the music from rooftop lounges. It was a laugh that sounded exactly like Mama Adissa's. He turned in his bed, his chest pounding. Sleep would not come. The past had followed him into the city, and it demanded payment. By Monday morning, Kofi felt like a man walking into battle. The night had been long, filled with the echo of Mama Adissa's laughter in his dreams and the heavy reminder of his strange condition. But the city never paused for anyone's pain. Work awaited him. He dressed slowly, tugging at his trousers, which felt tighter with each passing day. His tailor-made suit, imported from Milan, seemed to resist his body. When he looked in the mirror, he saw the image of a successful banker. Polished shoes, crisp shirt, diamond-studded cufflinks. But beneath the elegance was a man drowning in shame. His Bentley glided through the bustling streets of Victoria Island. Billboards flashed perfume ads. Luxury shops displayed watches worth more than most people's rent, and young women in designer heels hurried to offices. Kofi should have felt at home in this world of wealth and glass towers. But today, the ride felt suffocating. The bank's headquarters rose before him, its glass walls reflecting the morning sun. As he walked into the grand lobby, marble floors shining under crystal chandeliers, he noticed eyes turning toward him. Some with admiration, others with a smirk he couldn't quite explain. In his private office on the 18th floor, he tried to bury himself in work, reviewing loan applications, preparing reports for million-dollar clients, and managing his investment portfolio. But his body betrayed him. Sitting was uncomfortable, standing was worse, and walking across the office floor made his colleagues whisper. By noon, he noticed the stares. Men avoided looking at him directly but whispered behind screens. Women glanced at him, some with curiosity, others with mischief in their eyes. It was as though the secret was no longer secret. The worst moment came during a meeting with the regional director. The room was filled with executives in expensive suits, laptops open, charts glowing on the screen. Kofi stood to present a report, his voice calm, his words precise. But halfway through, he shifted slightly, and the fabric of his trousers pulled in a way that made one of the junior staff gasp softly. A ripple of suppressed laughter spread around the room. Kofi's throat tightened. He pushed through his presentation, finishing with as much dignity as he could. When the meeting ended, he walked out quickly, ignoring the looks. In the hallway, Amara, the same colleague who had whispered to him before, cornered him again. She smiled, leaning close, her perfume filling the air. "Kofi," she said softly, "you can't hide it forever. Some women would give anything to know a man like you." Her words burned him. Shame mixed with temptation, twisting inside his chest. He stepped back, shaking his head. "Amara, leave me alone. This is not something to joke about." But her knowing smile told him the city's rumor mill was already turning. By evening, Kofi sat in his office staring at the skyline. He was a man with wealth, power, and status, but one who could not control his own body. The skyscrapers outside gleamed like gold, but he felt trapped in a cage of glass, surrounded by whispers. As he finally left the building, stepping into his Bentley, he saw two security guards laughing quietly near the gate. He couldn't hear their words, but he didn't need to. He knew they were laughing at him. And once again, as he drove through the glowing city streets, the laughter of Mama Adissa echoed faintly in his ears.